Well, hello everyone, I'm UrielLocke, and this is Otherland. This is basically going to be my first impressions of the game and my opinions on how everything's going so far in this early access game that's on Steam. It is actually $20 now, I do believe, for the base game. I do have to say that I am enjoying quite a lot of this game in general, just because of the fact that it's very sci-fi, and I like sci-fi stuff. So right here, I'm actually going through and showing you the character creation, which honestly, it's not too in-depth, and it's not too boring, I guess I could say. Like, you can actually customize your character, but at the same time, it's not one of those things where it's overbearing or you don't have enough stuff you can do to customize your character, in my opinion. I kind of like the whole Tron theme that they got going on as well, with your character that you're playing, or your other, I guess you could say. But it's one of those games that I actually have to say that I've played quite a few hours of this over the last week or so. Basically last weekend I was playing quite a bit of it, but I'm just doing my video now because I haven't had time to edit and do my voiceover and everything. But basically I happen to enjoy this game. The button F in this game is very, very prevalent. I'm not totally cool about that. Like, I like to click things, but in that sense, it's got the whole sci-fi-esque thing, and over here you're actually seeing groups of people that are being exploded or whatever, and it's basically time stopped where I'm at right now. I did actually create a previous character and had to delete that character, so I have played test played all the character classes. So I'm going to go ahead and just run through and then change my character and go through and do that. But it's very different storyline-wise and just visual-wise compared to a lot of MMOs that I've played. And I enjoy that. It's not something that I can really predict what's going to happen, because I'm one of those people that when I play a game, I normally start predicting what's going to happen or whatnot. I'm the same way with movies. I'm horrible to watch movies with. I call endings to movies all the time. Thank you, Hollywood, for not changing the storylines ever. But you do have these cool aspects in this game as well, where you can fly to different places and be teleported, and that aspect of things makes it more futuristic and more sci-fi-esque than a lot of the other games that are out there. Like, yeah, you have teleporters in other games, but they're more magic style than, in a sense, technology. And of course, there's so many references in this game to other forms of media. There's different ideas going through this. I mean, there's these obelisks. They kind of sort of look like they could be Egyptian, but I can't really look at a lot of the etchings on there. But the fact that I'm shooting an obelisk right now is kind of interesting. The bad guys, the little things that I'm shooting right now basically are considered shaders, which I kind of had to laugh a little bit at that because of shaders in general. If you do any form of rendering or any of that, shaders are kind of annoying sometimes. So they're the little annoying guys, which I find kind of cool that it was just a little thing that made me laugh, because I was like, wait a minute, these are all shaders. I'm shooting shaders because they're annoying. And the visuals in this game are just phenomenal, in my opinion, because it gives you that feeling that you're not actually in our time frame or in some fantasy land or whatever, because there's those aspects where there's like fantasy, and then there's those aspects where there's tech. So it's kind of a cyberpunk thing, and cyberpunk is just amazing in general, but I digress there. I'm going to be shooting this throne, and that guy behind the throne, mind you, is kind of in some form of a sarcophagi. He does actually have a couple like Egyptian things. One of them, I think he has the hook. I don't know if he has the ankh. But he's also got wings, so he's kind of like an angel thing, and his arms are crossed, and then he has another set of arms. So it's kind of a weird reference to Egyptian mythology, which I kind of like that as well, because I'm kind of a history buff as well. That throne did actually dodge a couple of my shots, which was kind of weird, but I'm going to let you watch this cinematic because it's beautiful. With that, there's nothing. But now it's several years later, which means it's there. And there's brightness and circles and Otherland. And here I am in Limbo. I do have to say that I do like cinematics in MMOs as well. They're kind of hard to actually like do correctly, in my opinion, because everybody tries to do a few cinematics within an MMO, but it doesn't really have the effect that it does in a single-player game. And that was more of an effect that I would feel for a single-player game like a Mass Effect or something. So I have to definitely say thank you, Drago, for actually doing what you're doing here. And that's Orlando. I'm not sure if it's a reference to Orlando Bloom or any of these other Orlando characters out there. I will let you know that in this level, there's some really funny references to other game characters and, in a sense, other characters from fantasy and whatnot. So the storyline here so far, I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, the guy that I technically destroyed and then blew up everything and then started over again, basically was trying to take over and rule and destroy everything and be like, blah, 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 I'm evil god guy person. But I killed him, but I'm not there because it's several years later, which is weird. Also, Limbo is kind of a really cool area, just looking at it. I'm not actually, like, viewing the outskirts of everything, but there's actually a building off to my right, which is actually just kind of like a weird, like, village. Like an old, like, European village type thing, where they're actually, like, just embedded in these weird square rock outcroppings, which is really cool. The sun actually says till death or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was kind of cool, like a prophecy of some sort, so to speak. And you're stuck here in Limbo because you're dead, but it said till death do you part or something like that. So it was kind of like a marriage thing, so you're like stuck here forever. Like marriage is hell type thing. Funny reference there. And then there's this up here, this like Chinese Asian-esque, I can't even talk, temple thing here. Crit You in the Face is actually the name of a character in this game, which is kind of cool. For those of you that play D&D or any other form of tabletop RPG, which is actually a lot of fun. I also noticed that basically every character in this game you have to talk to twice. So that's something that's a little I'm hoping they actually kind of have like a sub-dialogue where you're like, oh, hey, you actually have another thing for me to talk to you about, instead of having to click them twice and everything. Hopefully that gets fixed later on. This is still early access, so I'm not going to totally bash this game. And look, it's Legolas 15, which of course is a reference to an archer from Lord of the Rings. So yay for that. Yay elves. But the storyline so far, I'm still trying to figure out, as I said, but it's a lot of fun to play this game. I actually haven't found a game that I can just fall into and just play for fun and have a hell of a time playing recently, and I just started playing this and I'm like, yes, because it's basically everything I want in an MMO. I'm not a huge fan of the action combat, don't get me wrong. Action combat is good, but in small doses, and I've been playing a lot of action combat MMOs lately, so not gonna bash the people for doing that, but having the option would be a cool idea to have, like, oh, just the button presses or whatever. I mean, I get why you have the rage guns. Why does that sound like an anime character? But having the option to go from action combat to the, like, more WoW-esque combat, I understand that those do get really repetitive because you just stand there, but being able to switch back and forth, I haven't seen that in a game yet, so just anybody out there ready to design a video game, like an MMO or something, give people the option. Also, you'll notice that my character is very red. I just kind of decided to do that for shits and giggles. But the story is very interesting in this game, just because it doesn't even really reference the fact that you're a human on the outside playing this or in this or any of that so far. So it's like you're just this being stuck in this weird form of digital realm that goes from one end to the other, or one extreme to the other, I should say. And I have to say, I'm impressed with what they've done so far. I've played a lot of early access games as of late. I mean, I've played Landmark, which I haven't even touched in forever. Maybe I got bored at building things. I don't know. I'm not a huge Minecraft fan either. I mean, I own the game, but I don't really play it that often. I let my fiance play it. But basically, it's one of those things where I enjoy games for a while, and then I'm like, yeah. So I do think that this game I'm going to actually enjoy for quite a while. I mean, I do still play Hellgate and Guild Wars 2 occasionally, but I'm kind of primarily playing this at the moment. I do need to actually do another video on the repopulation, which is kind of in the same genre as this, but not really. So I just have to hand it to people for actually doing stuff outside the box, if that makes sense. Because I've actually been keeping my eye on this game for quite a while. Just because of the fact that it was based on the books that Tad Williams wrote. And I hope I actually said his name right. I'm horrible with names. But I need to go read the books because I have not done that yet. But it is very Ready Player One-esque as well, if you've read that. Which, it's actually a lot of fun to read that book. This kind of sort of correlates with the whole idea behind that, of like all the different realms and areas you can go to, which is something else that I like, because a lot of MMOs, you like go to a different area, it's just basically a lot of the same stuff. Like you have the same environment type thing. Like you go into the cities, they're always like cities, but here it's like, oh well, there's an Asian city over here. Well, you go over here and there's like some bug city, which is cool. It kind of separates everything and gives you different worlds to explore, so to speak. I'm not sure how much of the worlds we can actually explore yet, but I've noticed that it's actually worth exploring some of them, though, because I was down here in Limbo for, I want to say 2 hours just running around doing stuff, just for the fun of it, before I like actually started to do everything, because my first character I created got stuck here, and I couldn't respawn, like, ever, so I logged out, logged back in, and my character was still stuck, so I ended up having to delete that character and create another one. Yes, it's still early access, but it's one of the more complete early access games that I've played, as I said, because going and looking at Landmark when it first launched compared to this, launching in early access, this has actually got working quests, this has got working environments, and stuff you can actually do and interact with, and you don't fall through the ceiling or floor at the same time. Because I had an infinite fall going on Landmark. I think I also had that going on in the repopulation originally as well. But, you know, I have to go test the repopulation again, make sure that that's doing better, because honestly, I like the whole idea of being able to pick your class and play as how you want to play, which is something else, because being a person who plays a lot of games and gets stuck in certain categories, it's kind of annoying having to play the same characters over and over again. Like, if I go to play a game with my friends, I'm either playing a tank class or I'm either a healer. I never really play DPS characters, which is another reason why I kind of picked this character for this, because DPS is actually a lot of fun to play, because all you have to do is just basically shoot and try and keep near the healer and make sure that the tank is alive, basically. So you have to be dealing the damage while the tank holds the boss or whatever, and the healer actually heals everybody. But I like playing different classes, and in this, I picked this class just because I wanted to see what it was like, and I enjoyed this class the most, because, yes, don't get me wrong, the warrior class is actually really cool. Like, I like the idea of the warrior class in this game, plus just the armors at level 64, because I actually logged out to figure out what level those classes were. All of those classes that you test out originally are level 64. And playing as those classes, I mean, your character looks pretty badass, not gonna lie. Like, I actually watched some videos, and one of the guys, I don't remember who it was, said that the warrior class, the helmet kind of looked like Sauron from Lord of the Rings, which was kind of cool. And I was like, yeah, that kind of does look like that. But you got all these other classes and everything. The assassin class is kind of like an Asian character theme, which is kind of cool as well. I mean, I like the hat that they have because it just covers their eyes and they're like, I'm a ninja. Kind of slightly racist, but, you know, I'm not going to bash them for that because, you know, ninjas are very silent. Assassin, ninja, you know, kind of go correlate really well historically. Then it's based off a book, so who knows? It could be part of the book. Because I haven't read them yet. There's a lot of them. I actually looked them up on Amazon to see if I can buy them, and I was like, oh, quite a few of those. I also kind of like the aspect of this game being the third-person aspect of things, because having this game be that way instead of being like a first-person would make it harder to play. This is more of a Mass Effect-esque playstyle, if that makes sense, for those of you that have played a lot of MMOs and everything and actually played Mass Effect. Basically, think of this as some weird version of Mass Effect Online. Which, BioWare, that's something you should do. I mean, yes, I know you're making Andromeda right now, but, you know, Mass Effect Online may actually do better than the Old Republic. And, you know, maybe. I like the Old Republic, but I can't free to play that game. It just, no. I paid for a while, and no. Anyway, let's get back on topic here. Orlando likes to give me quests. Lots of quests. Now I have to go shoot things, if I remember correctly. Also, I do like the aspect that you get a lot of, like, gear in this game. I actually have not found a vendor that I can sell everything to yet. So I have, like, a ton of stuff in my inventory, and I'm like, ah. So there's that aspect of things. And the idea behind how they're doing this game so far is very... I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's more personal, I guess I could say, with your character than most games where you're just like, oh, you're the champion, you could go do this. It's more like, oh, hey, your friend, like, needs your help. You need to go do this. And it's more personable than, oh, champion, go fight this evil doer thing-majig. Or, oh, hero. I mean, yeah, it works that way. I mean, I'm not playing Fable. Yeah, I'm throwing a lot of game names out here right now, and I'm sorry. But it feels more personable to me as a player, because having that aspect of being like, oh, the character you're playing's friend is in trouble. Are you going to go save them? I mean, Guild Wars kind of did something like that, and you had to go save your best friend or whatever, depending on what background you picked or whatever, which is also really cool. I like the whole personal story thing, because it brings a new aspect into the game that I haven't really seen in a lot of MMOs. Yeah, they kind of did that with WoW in the most recent expansion, where you're like, oh, blah, 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 I need your help, type thing. And it kind of made it more personable, but a lot of games are trying to do more story-driven things, where it kind of incorporates you, the player, more, not just like a group or more of the general, like, characters that are there. So you actually kind of have a feel for what's going on behind the scenes of each character. And I've been playing this game for, as I said, almost a week now. Total of like 48 hours or so. Over a week, which really sucks, but, you know, whatever. Saturday and Sunday last week. And Friday, I think. But basically, you take all these things where you're going around with these same characters that are like your little group of people. I'm actually, I want to say, I'm on like the third planet, I want to say. Third or fourth. This is the first, second. I'm in the fourth, basically. I had to go through which planet's in my head. And I've been with this same group since Limbo, basically. So it's kind of cool that way, where I have like this group of friends that I'm running around with, but they're NPCs. Which kind of correlates more with a more Baldur's Gate-esque gameplay. So, like, they're doing stuff, like, they're not the best at what they're doing, but they're still doing stuff. And the AI is actually okay most of the time. I have to say that there's certain classes that you can pick that do cause some issues. I was watching a guy play an Energizer, and he was trying to fight one of the bosses in this level, and he was just targeting his buddies and everything. I was like, dude, you have to put the cursor on said character or bad guy or whatever you're doing to actually target them in order to shoot a heal or to shoot damage, basically, as your Energizer class. Which is, yeah, slightly problematic because people, like the NPCs, will move right in front of you. So there is that aspect of things. But if they actually were to program the characters a little bit to kind of pull away from you and still be there, like just be like basically behind your character, like in a follow position or something, that would work a little bit better for that aspect of things. I'm just throwing out ideas here. I don't even know if Drago's going to watch this video, but, you know, they did like one of my posts on Facebook, though. So I'm kind of amped about that. Yay, Drago. Drago. I want to say Drago. I don't know why it's Drago. I don't know. But I have to say, for when I bought it for the $16.99, it was actually definitely worth this, because I've definitely gotten my money's worth so far. I don't know what the level cap is yet, which is kind of weird because, you know, level caps. And I'm talking about a level cap in a MMO that's in early access. And this guy's a big bad baddie, by the way. He's kind of creepy. Also, there's that, you hear that weird, like, clicking noise or whatever. Whenever I click and I'm targeting something and I can't shoot, that's a little annoying. That does persist throughout combat. So I am hoping that does change a little bit, where it's just like a beep instead of the thing that happens, because that gets really annoying. Sweetie Cheng. No idea what that's in reference to. If anybody does, leave the comments in below, because I don't know everything. Just gonna go with that. The aspect of the graphics in this game, I actually don't have this very high, so I can actually record it. But the graphics are beautiful. I actually, before I started like recording the videos and everything, I actually had it on max graphics on my fiance's computer, because I'm using her computer right now. Shh, I don't want to get in trouble there. But, and then this guy right here, I thought of Dune the first time I saw this thing. I was like, oh look, it's Dune, because it's like a worm. But back to the whole thing, this game is so pretty, in my opinion. I've seen some pretty games, but just the colors and how vibrant they are, and how you have the different characters with their colors and their like Tron colors and everything. It's really interesting to see all this stuff, and then you'll actually see when I end up getting out of here, which is going to be not that long. I'm actually checking things to see if I have. I don't know. What's it say? Also, I have noticed that I can actually unequip things randomly, which is not fun. But that's something that just happens randomly. It's not really something that I actually can control. I'm assuming it might be a bug, but that bug might actually be fixed by now. I haven't actually had too many bugs where I'm like, nah, I'm not touching this game till it's ready, blah, 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 blah. It's actually quite finished. And I've had people, I've watched videos where they're like, oh, this game's crap, blah, 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 it crashes, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's going to happen, and I understand that. But at the same time, if you're going to sit there and bash a game for being early access for one, and then paying for it for two, I mean, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot, because you're bashing something that you paid for that isn't even completely ready yet. I mean, if you're gonna sit there and look at things at a specific slant where you're like, oh la, I am also not going to say that bashing early access games is a bad thing, because there are some early access games that really need to have people take a second look and be like, listen, developers, this is problematic, you're not fixing this. And there's been games that have been taken off of Steam due to that. So my suggestion is, if you find a game interesting, personally, like me, I found this game interesting. Just the premise of it, I found interesting. So I'm not going to sit there and say that just because I found this interesting, I'm going to bash the tar out of it. I'm going to give it a decent, in a sense, review. I'm not going to rate it or anything. I'm just going to say, you know what? If you like games like this, if you like the idea, if you like the premise, go ahead and drop the money to test it out. If it's not your whole shtick, then do what feels right to you. Go get another game. I mean, if you feel more comfortable playing free-to-play games and being stuck behind a paywall, yeah, that's completely your choice as a gamer. I personally am not a fan of paywalls, and I do like to actually test games, because I've tested some of the biggest games to come out in the last 5 years, especially MMOs. I mean, I beta tested, as I've said, alpha tested the Landmark, I've alpha tested this, I've alpha tested Repopulation, and the list goes on. And then beta test, I've even tested even more on that, because I've done Elder Scrolls, I've done the Tor, name it. I've even beta tested some WoW stuff. So, and Hearts, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, and a few others. But I'm not tooting my own horn here. I mean, I know what I'm doing when I test things, and having to be behind a paywall to actually be able to test games now, I get it. The company needs some form of support, and they want to have the people that are interested in the game support them in ways that they can actually continue to support the programmers, the people that are the designers, the managers, the people that keep everybody working, the owners. I mean, I understand that. But at the same time, there's some aspects of things where there should be more of a test zone that's more free, because everybody's doing like these founders packs where it's like, oh, well, you want to get in on this beta? Well, the open beta you automatically get a key for if you pay $50 or whatever. And you're like, that's a full price for a game. And that's one of the things that I find a little twerky, I guess I could say. Not twerky, iffy. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Twerky. I'm coming up with words now. Should have said hanky, but whatever. It's just weird when they make you pay for a game that is supposed to be free to play, mind you. And they're like, oh, in order to get early access or play in the beta, you need to do this. And yeah, I get money grabs. I get cash grabs. I understand that. But if you're just going to blatantly say, hey, this game's coming out in 2 months, you want to pay $25 to actually get access to it a month early? The game's ready. They're just saying, oh, here, pay us money. The game's free to play in a month, but you're going to sit there, in a month or two, actually. You're going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to fork over cash just to, get access to things that should technically be free, because they're actually testing it still. I mean, servers are something that has to be tested up until launch, usually, because the servers crash all the time, which is something that they actually had a major issue with this game for a while. I mean, I couldn't get in for a day and a half, basically. And it was one of those things where you're sitting there going, okay, it's crashing. What's going on? And they have to go and they have to redo the servers and make sure that everything's running correctly, because the server tests are something that a lot of people aren't expecting, because there's that flood of an influx of gamers and people that just want to test the game, and it crashes the game, so they can't actually get in. I mean, I sat at the loading screen for an hour before I was like, I'm done, I'm going to go do something else. And then I came back a few hours later and logged right in. Also, I find it kind of weird that this guy, Rage Guns, is huge, and I'm as tall as I can be, basically. So he's huge, and I'm as tall as I can be, yet he's still bigger than I am. So there's that. Also, the game in general teaches you how to play it, which is something that a lot of games do. And I appreciate that. At the same time, I'm also one of those people that likes to figure out how to play a game without being told specifically, because I play differently than everybody else. I mean, yeah, there are probably going to be some people that play the same style I do, but playing it the way you play compared to everybody else, like some people will start off, I'm going to just throw everything into my hotkeys, my 1 through 10 or whatever. And I'm one of those people that's like, well, I'll do that when I have to. And I actually haven't gotten to the point where I can actually start throwing points into those yet. So I'm not sure if that's even part of the design yet. If it's just like, oh, you're leveling up and just getting more damage and more health, or being able to deal more damage and more health and get more health. So, and this game does get hard. There are certain instances where I've gotten lost and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then you have to drop a quest and pick the quest back up. That's something that happens. I mean, there's time delays for certain things. There is one quest on here that I actually am going to be doing a video on as well that took me at least an hour and a half to actually beat, just because I kept losing. And I was doing everything right, but at the same time, certain things were happening that I couldn't control within the game. So, yay for battles that never end. But I did it finally, and I did exactly the same thing that I was doing the entire time. And I was like, what's different here? So there are a couple bugs, but it's worth it. Just to be able to, one, in my opinion, get my hands on the game early. Two, to actually be able to do a semi-review of the game. To actually tell you all how good this game actually is outside of what everybody else is saying. Because we have those people out there that are just ragging on games hardcore, that rip games apart just for the stupidest little things. I don't rip games apart. I don't sit there and bash games the way that most people do. I will bash certain companies for doing certain things behind a paywall, or for doing things specifically in order to negate gameplay. EA is known for this. You have to pay to do this. And Csoft is another company that does stuff like that as well with a lot of their other games. Which is another game that I wanted to get in on the early access for, but, you know, I'm not going to drop the $20-30 to actually do it, because it's going to be free to play. Blade and Soul finally coming to the US. I heard about this game 3 years ago, and nada. But I'd rather pay a smaller company that's just starting out, that's doing something that is based on something else. They picked this game up from another company who was originally working on it, as far as I can remember, that went under. They picked this up, and so far I'm happy with it. I'm actually quite ecstatic with what they've done, because they've made it to where I'm feeling like I'm doing something in this world. I feel like I'm becoming something as my character. Also, there are instances where things like this will happen. That's only due to the fact that my computer is actually a little slow, and I am recording, so that does pop up and happen occasionally. It could also be some programming issues where it's like, oh, well, that exploded. You get mobbed by people. I've had that happen a couple times. It's not horrible, and I don't understand why that thing hums as loud as it does. I have turned down the volume. I have done everything I could to lower that volume, but it still hurts my ears. So it's actually not that loud right now, but you're still hearing that. But they have like little mannequins out here in female outfits, which are kind of interesting. And there's all these different vending machines as well, which you can go get like health potions from, or I think it's XP potions as well. They're right over there. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on where you look at the game itself. It's so colorful compared to what I'm used to playing, where it's like, wow, and it's green and brown in certain areas, or blue and shades of purple or something. But this is so vibrant and colorful. It does remind me of Tron a lot. And I like Tron. I'm sorry. They need to make a third movie. Damn you, Tron. Damn you! But yeah, they do need to make a third movie of Tron, just because... Jeff Bridges, come on, man. Come on. The combat in this game is a little weird. I have had some instances where I can't kill people, which I've seen happen on a whole bunch of other videos that I've watched as well. I've actually done a lot of research on this game for videos wise on YouTube and everything. So there's a lot of instances where that's been happening. Connectivity, so to speak, issues as well, where it'll drop out and then it'll come back in with your internet and ping and everything. And then with the combat, there's certain instances where, as I said in one of the missions that I was doing, where I was fighting a boss, I couldn't win. I tried it like 5-6 times. I was there for like an hour and a half trying to beat this boss, and it took me a while because it wasn't hard. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was supposed to do, but it just wasn't registering, so to speak, or the bad guy was hitting the good guy before I could actually defend the good guy or whatever. And there's a lot of that as well, where you're defending your partners or your buddies or whatever, which is kind of a more military-esque idea, which is also something I like, because it's more of a group thing instead of just singular me being an awesome hero. Because groups are always something that a lot of people do with like raids and everything. So when you have your like little close-knit group of NPCs that are running with you, it kind of makes it a little more fun and a little harder as well. Because you have no idea how much damage they're actually dealing. I'm also kind of confused as to what class she is. I think she might be an Energizer. And I have no idea what Rage Gun's class is, because he's got a rocket launcher, and I'm like, I want one. Because I think he's just a gunner, but yeah, you have the Warrior class, the Engineer, or not the Engineer, Energizer, the Marksman, and the Assassin. So there's 4 classes, which is kind of small, but at the same time, like, it's not the worst I've seen. So, this is rainy, which is probably a reference to something, but I really don't know. I'm just waiting to see like Stargate references and everything in this game, which would be kind of funny. But I do say this game is actually worth playing if you're into sci-fi stuff or steampunk or cyberpunk or any of that. Just because it's got so many aspects of everything in it. And it's actually a lot of fun to play. Even with the issues that randomly occur. They've also, I do have to commend Drago for doing all the updates that they've been doing lately. They've been doing so much and working their tails off to get this game actually working the way that they wanted it to work. Because it's just crazy. I actually follow their Facebook page, and it'd be the Otherland MMO, and they have all these posts and everything, and they're actually the ones that liked my post originally. But I have to commend all of them for their hard work on this, because it's been a long time coming with this game. I first heard about this game, gosh, I want to say back in like 2013, 12, 13-ish, I think, something like that. So this game's been a long time coming. And I may be wrong on the dates there. I could be. I could be very wrong on the dates there, but it's a lot of fun to play. It does kind of sort of remind me of the Repopulation as well. Just because of references to the same things in a sense. You have the third-person aspect of things, where you're kind of doing the same thing running around. And it's kind of sort of the same movement, it looks like, as well. Also, I still haven't figured out how to use that's right-click. Or is that the E button? I think that's my E button. But I keep having, like, I click it, and I'm like, I know where this needs to go, and then I just click randomly, and I'm like, I always miss it. Like, I don't target the guy that I'm supposed to target, so you're going to see that happening a couple times, because I'm kind of a horrible targeter, apparently. Even though it's an AoE, and I know what I'm doing with it, my brain doesn't click and be like, oh, that's my AoE. So I'm not used to buttons being over there on E. Unless I'm playing a MOBA, which I don't play very often. So yes, there's a lot of me running around and shooting things. There's a lot of me testing out different weapons and showing off how this game actually works. And once I actually get out of this area, we'll actually go to another area where you guys can actually see more of what this game is about. Basically, this is the first hour of my gameplay, so you guys will be getting a hour-long view of what happens and the story and what happens through the specific areas you go to, which I do rather enjoy the different areas as well, as I've said, because it gives it a different feel. Like, yeah, and WoW, you go to, like, Draenor and everything, but it's, like, completely different. Yeah, it's a different world, but at the same time it's not, and it's part of this one because it's connected, and blah, de blah, de blah. This one, they're all different. There's nothing really the same at all. So. And I'm trying to pick up eDNA right now. I have no idea what eDNA does yet. I need to actually look that up. But I assume it's going to actually allow the player to actually morph into certain other characters, which would kind of be cool if you can actually switch from, like, your character to, like, being, like, dressed and looking like one of these gang members I'm shooting here. And have it be where, like, you're like, oh, I'm going to infiltrate this now. Yeah. Which would be a really cool idea to actually be able to do everything stealthily. But I'm not sure if they're going to do that or if that's how the eDNA works. Die already. I still haven't figured out what leveling up does besides gives me health. Also, the cars and everything they have in this game are actually kind of cool as well. They're very futuristic and techy. The taxis are hilarious looking. They look like a really weird version of a smart car mixed with a beetle. Or a bug. It's kind of funny. Now I have to save people. And of course I get shot or hit. Oh, that weird clicking noise is so annoying. Also, the control button will actually bring up that bar that's up at the top, which I should probably have explained, because it's not normally there, and I still haven't figured out how to actually click that while in gameplay. But you do have your regular buttons for your inventory and your character and all that stuff, so there is that. So many bad guys. The quests are kind of the same kind of quests you get in every other MMO as well, but it doesn't really feel as tedious when you're playing, which is kind of weird. Like, the whole go here, do this thing is something that everybody does in MMOs, and this doesn't really make it feel like it's horrid. Like, where you have to backtrack and everything. So, I can say that. And I talk to you. And I talk to you again. Also, the fact that you can make yourself look human is kind of cool as well. Also, I'm a slow reader. I'm sorry. So, I'm wondering if there's going to be, like, how they're going to do the raid system in this game. It'd be kind of interesting to just think about that and figure out how they're going to do it. Like, this right here is a car. So, go over here. And I'm sorry I don't have much to say right now. I've said basically everything in the first part of this, and I'm waiting for us to actually get somewhere else in the video so I can actually explain more about how things are in this game. But the little B thing is actually bits, which is the currency in game. You also have credits when you first log in and you pay for the game, basically. So you're going to have the ability to buy things right off the bat if you want. I actually didn't, so I'm basically keeping everything the same and trying to play everything solo. The portals in this game are kind of weird, I've noticed, because this one's like right there. And then we're in Lambda Mall. Lambda Mall. There we go. It's a weird word. So it's very, very shiny, and if you look down below, it's actually really pretty down there too. Like, these are tall city. This is like Coruscant size, basically, for those of you that know Star Wars. Think a whole city planet, basically, like Terrace as well. So, and there's references to all sorts of things in the advertisements and everything, so I do enjoy that as well. There's actually a Drago Entertainment billboard in the game, which is kind of funny. I kind of laughed at that because they had to advertise themselves in there, but I can't knock them because, you know, you got to do it. You got to do it. It makes sense to be there. So, and I'm just sitting here reading really, really slow, apparently. I don't know what's going on. But she takes off. I am in Lambda Mall. Then there's the Metamorph, and there's all these different shops over here that I don't even go through. So I go talk to this guy. Talk to him again. Blah, 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 blah. Simuloid. Simuloid. So weird. But with all the aspects of this game, like you can actually see some of the NPC characters walking around and looking what they look like. You have so much customization you can do with these characters after you get out of the character creation and out of the tutorial. So there's so many things you can actually do that's actually kind of funny if you think about it, because one of the things I'm actually going to do if you actually watch my character is I'm going to change my character's gender. Just because, like, you have all these different skins that you can actually get as well, and you can change your height already. Like, normally within a game, you can't just go in and do that, which is something that I actually enjoy, is I can actually change my character's look, gender, and all that stuff in-game after I've created my character. So it's like, oh, do you want to keep this character? Well, I kind of don't like how this looks, or I kind of don't like how this looks. So what happens is you go in and you change it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not even getting into. If you notice within this screen, there's the simuloid thing, there's hair, there's all these other skin types and tones and tattoos and all this other stuff that I haven't even looked at yet. So I'll be doing a video on that after I get through all this editing I have to do. Dear Lord. As I said, I have like almost 48 hours of video that I have to edit here. So there's this. I get a shirt. And then I change my gender and my height. So I'm like really short now. Which is kind of the most amazing thing I've seen. Besides, the only other game that I actually can think of that actually has this ability is the Skyforge right now. So you change your gender and your height, weight, whatever. And then there's the vending machine that I was talking about, which you can click those and you can get all these different perks and everything. So there's like the XP and the health boost and everything. I'm just running around. But you go to your like little different areas to level and to interact with other NPCs, which is something that this area is huge. Like, I can't say enough how big this area actually is, because it looks tiny, but all these different areas, they have different offshoots. If you look off to the right a little bit, there's actually a flight path to another area over there. So as a person that's played like huge wide open games, like this game isn't very wide open, but it's still huge. So it's got some areas that you're gonna want to explore as a player, just because of the fact that it's just so much in such a small area. It's basically like going to a mall, but on Coruscant, if that makes sense. So you're sitting there like trying to figure out what to do first. You're like a kid in a candy store, and all the candy's free. Diabetes much. But that's actually not something to joke about, though. I have family members that have that, so eat healthy, kids. Eat healthy. It's a good idea. But you go around, and there's so many different stores and shops and everything you can just go into and just peruse stuff. Like, you can just buy stuff in these most of these shops. Yeah, you actually see the little flight paths for the portals, and there's advertisements for all sorts of different shops and stores, and then there's a whole nother ramp over there, which is, I think, the banking ramp, if I remember correctly. There's like a whole bank area up there. There's little shops, and then there's the whole Lambda Mall, and then down there there's the Drago Entertainment advertisement right there, which of course I laughed at. But here's the main portal, and then you go over here. Oh, wrong guy. Right over here. Talk to the simuloid again. But you somewhat get the gist of what's going on in this game. There's so much to do. The side quests are so far worth it. I've played quite a few side quests, and it's always just there. Like, it's very intuitive. It tells you where to go, like your little arrow thing, which took me a while, of course. But oh, look, my use space, which is something that I actually have to get into in a minute as well. But it's very, it doesn't treat you like you're stupid as a gamer, which a lot of games will actually do, just to finish quest lines and everything. Like the whole auto run thing in some games, you're like, oh, why am I even playing this? I just go over here, click these buttons, auto run back. Which, don't get me wrong, like, I like that idea, but at the same time it takes some gameplay out of it, so it makes it less personable and less personalized for the gamer themselves. So if you create this awesome character, and this awesome character is just running from quest to quest by themselves, you're like, wait, what? So having the ability to control where your character goes is a little bit more personable for me. Not bashing games that have that, because I do actually like some of those games just for the gameplay. Yay, Forsaken World. Anyway, random shoutouts. And this guy's name is freaking Yoshi. This guy's name is freaking Yoshi. So, of course, I have to say, Drago, you're freaking amazing for making Yoshi. So you go to your use space, which is what I'm doing now, and it's basically your house. So you have your own barracks, or your weird house thing, or whatever the hell you want to call it in the other game. You're going home, basically. So this is a really cool portal, our main portal. And then, of course, there's the Drago Entertainment advertisement again. But you basically have like a list of places you can go, which kind of sort of reminds me of Stargate. Just me. And of course I gotta talk to this AI person who tells me how to do everything, of course. But within your house, you have the aspect of doing quite a few things. You can add other rooms, which is something that I rather enjoyed the idea of, just because having the ability to make another room is kind of something that a lot of games are like, oh, well, you can have ad space and all this other stuff, but it's going to cost you this much money. And this game, it's like, yeah, it costs you stuff, but it's going to do stuff for you. I know that in WoW, your barracks does stuff for you, but in not all of the other games does it actually do something for you if you have a room in your house. So in this game, there's something called Soma. I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably like a weird plant that I can grow that gives me something. But also, there's also news on this wall right here, which is freaking amazing. You have a news wall in your house. So it also tells you like what quests you're on and stuff. So it's kind of cool. But back to the whole Soma thing. It does stuff. I don't know what it does. I haven't looked into it. I haven't really tried. But, you know, I grew some. Kinda. Sorta. And forgot to harvest it. Which is never fun, because, you know, it dies if you don't harvest it. Sad face. But the aspect that you can change the color of your house, like your floor, your walls, and everything, is something that's really freaking cool to me. Because looking at all the other games that you have the ability to have a house, you don't really get to change everything in your house and make it look the way you really want. From what I know. I mean, unless we're playing The Sims and I want to put a couch in a certain area. So, there's that. Which is kind of sort of, this is kind of sort of a mini game within the game, if that makes sense. To have, like, the coolest stuff in your house. Or, I think WildStar actually had a really good house system, too. But, you know, I haven't played that in forever. It needs to go free to play. Because I miss it. Plus, I loved my Chua. I can't even remember my Chua's name. It's just sad. I just remember he was a Chua. And I was, the Dominion. Dominion's fun. So, basically, the assistant just tells me all this other crap and how to do all this stuff, and then I get a new weapon and all this stuff. So, I just run around, do whatever the person says. So, basically, my total feel on this game is, if you like sci-fi, if you like Cyberpunk, if you like games that are MMOs that are, you know, different from most of them, I would suggest this. If you feel that it's something that you would want to play, I would suggest possibly getting the game, just because it's supporting a smaller company. It's not one of those giant like EAs or whatever. So there's that. And they do kind of sort of deserve support, because this game has been in development hell for years. And since it's been in development hell for years, it kind of deserves the right to actually be considered a full-fledged MMO. Because I play MMOs all the time. I've played all sorts of games. I've played survival horror MMOs like H1Z1. And I regret buying into that early access. Just because it's not something I really play, because all my friends are like, oh, I'm going to go play this other game, even though I bought it to play with them. So, you know, it happens. I have so many games in my Steam library, which, you know, everybody has so many games in their Steam library that they don't even touch. So that's part of the problem with the Steam library, because you never know what you want to play. But yeah, I've actually been playing this for a while. I'm probably going to continue playing it. Of course, my name on here is UrielLocke, for those of you that want to go ahead and try and add me as a friend. Haven't figured out how the friends thing works yet either, so. But I'm loving this game more than I thought I would. I mean, I knew I'd enjoy it, but I didn't think I'd love this game this much. Also, I'm still trying to figure out what these weird little portal things are for. Like, yes, I'm doing the Black Soma stuffs. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Accept. And I can't see the full numbers there, so I think it's like 2 minutes, maybe? I don't know. I think it's 2 minutes. Maybe it's 2 hours, and then the other one's days. I don't know. I hope they actually fix so I can actually see all those numbers there. And then, of course, as I said, these weird portal things on the sides. But I tried to cut out all of the loading screens, and I didn't cut out that one. I apologize. So, back to what I was saying. I would like to thank you all for watching. This is, of course, Otherland. If you're interested, go buy it. Do it. I am saying hands down. Yes, it may take you a while. Yes, there are some bugs, but at the same time, it's still worth playing, in my personal opinion. And I don't know if anybody actually has very high reviews of my personal opinion, but it's worth playing, even in this early access state. So, I'm UrielLocke, this is Otherland, and keep watching, because you never know what I'm going to do next.